Welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. This is your latest Arsenal news and team news, and of course, Mikel Arteta's press conference as well. We're going to be diving into Gabriel Jesus, Gabriel Martinelli, and a couple of stories from Mikel Arteta. A couple of excerpts from his press conference. He talked about FC Lens. He talked about Thomas Partey's availability, and he said there is a huge possibility that Thomas Partey will have some minutes in this game. And he also talked about Man City in that game that we have to focus on as we play FC Lens today. So hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well as we dive into the latest team news, the latest injury news, and some of Mikel Arteta's quotes on this game. Right, so in that big story around Gabriel Jesus, Football.London this morning are reporting that Gabriel Jesus is absolutely fine. After the weekend, there was that huge scare after Saturday that he had picked up another knee injury, right? Because there was an entanglement with him and a Bournemouth player, towards the end of the game. But he's absolutely all right. He's okay. And Mikel Arteta actually didn't talk about him in his press conference. Didn't talk about him at all. And that actually gave me huge relief, right? Because if he was out, if he was really injured, Mikel would have talked about him in his recent press conference, yesterday. But he actually didn't talk about him. And Football.London today are reporting that after appearing in training on Monday, after a couple of assessments were done on him on Monday and Sunday, he is absolutely all right. There is nothing wrong with Gabriel Jesus. That one is a booster, and that one is a huge boost. And again, he's a player that I think Arsenal should be managing. I think he's a player that should be protected by Mikel Arteta and by the Premier League as well. I think he's one of those explosive, entertaining players. And as well as other players get some protection, as well as other players get enough protection in the Premier League, I think Gabriel Jesus should be getting enough protection as well. So let me know in the comment box below. Do you think I'm right? Should Gabriel Jesus get protection from the Premier League, from the referees, much better? Because the amount of time this guy goes down and he doesn't get a foul, he doesn't get a free kick, he doesn't get a penalty. It's hilarious. It's purely hilarious. Now, I know he's one of those players that are not good for the liking of the referee because he will always go down a lot of the time. But for me, there are times when he genuinely goes down, and there are times when we've got to consider his feelings. There are times when we've got to consider him. It's the same thing with players like Bruno Fernandes. Yes, they go down a lot of the time, and it's frustrating for the referee. But at times, you've got to consider, is he going down genuinely? So for me, it's the same thing with Gabriel Jesus. But that means that he will be available against Man City. And if I'm Mikel Arteta, this is a huge game. Lens away, second game of the UEFA Champions League. You've not been there as manager. You need your best resources. You need your best team as well. But I would say, how about you rotate Gabriel Jesus? How about you rotate Bukayo Saka? And then the rest of the team, probably apart from Saliba, the rest of the team can actually play, against the FC Lens. And then we can see what happens on Sunday. Because with Jesus, you've got to manage him as manager. There are not so many managers. There are not so many opportunities that you're going to get for another person to manage him for you. The referees surely don't care. And I don't think the Brazilian national team, although at times they don't play him, I don't think they will miss an opportunity to play him, whether he's injured or not, right? So I think Mikel has got a huge job to do and a huge call to make here. Do I play him against FC Lens, even if he had that kind of entanglement, or do I give him a whole week off, right? But then, of course, I feel for Mikel Arteta, and I really, really do, because you've got to find consistency with this team. You've got to find, a run of games with this team. And not every player is going to be protected as well. Not every player is going to be, rotated, right? So I think, look, I can't be in Mikel Arteta's shoes, but what I would say, if he plays him against FC Lens, no problems. If he doesn't play him as well, no problems as well. I will understand the rotation, and I will still understand the purity, the purity of the intentions to go and give Gabriel Jesus a consistent run of games. He's actually done well ever since he came back from injury. Involving in goals, involving in runs. He's stretching that back line of opponents very well. So Jesus is back. He's available. Do we play him? Do we not play him? That is a call for Mikel Arteta, and we will be waiting to see what the gaffer goes with. However, another big one is about Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli is not expected to be in this game against FC Lens, like I said yesterday, but he's still expected to be back before the 22nd of October. Interesting. Now, of course, this weekend, 8th, we play Manchester City. and he's still expected to be in that game. Now, really, I'm not really sure how this is working. It's either he's out there, is backstage, and he's doing well, and he's doing some great things right, and probably the manager doesn't want to rush him back, or Mikel just wants to give us a surprise against Man City, and that could actually work as well. But what I would say is, it's a pity. It's a big, big pity that Gabriel Martinelli picks up an injury early in the campaign. He started off explosively well, magnificent stuff, and I would have wanted him to do a Saka, 3 consecutive seasons at the top, right? Because for me, this guy has got the ability to rival Vinicius Jr. for Brazil, for that Brazil left wing position. He's got the ability to rival Rafinha as well. But the problem with Gabi Martinelli is injuries, right? Last season did well, kept himself out of injuries. This campaign, it has started all over again. So there is still optimism, according to the report this morning, that Gabriel Martinelli will be available against Man City, right? So he returns this week, returns to training this week potentially, and then is back against Man City over the weekend on Sunday. That would be another huge boost for us, as you know, Man City, right? You've got to stretch them. You've got to make them work. If you're going to earn anything out of City, you've got to earn it. You've got to deserve it. It's as simple as that. There are no two ways about it, and there are no other ways around beating Manchester City, right? So that is those are the 2 big updates on the injuries that I'm receiving this morning, and I hope you guys absolutely value that information, right? Let's dive into Mikel Arteta's press conference. It wasn't a long one, but we could have a couple of excerpts to talk about, right? He talked about the Lens game, and he says, Lens I found it harder this season going, and currently sit 15th, but Arsenal expecting a tough encounter, according to Mikel Arteta. So Mikel says, I was really impressed with what they did last year. He said on the eve of the match, it's incredible to finish in that position the way they did in France, and the way they did it, the form they had at home. This is how they've been says this season they've been really unlucky with some results. I don't know how they don't have more points, so we expect a huge battle tomorrow against them. And he also says that we are more than aware of it. They are really a good side, and we have a huge test tomorrow for us to go and get the 3 points. Now, I will disagree with Mikel, and I'll disagree with a couple of you in the comment box below. So you've told me, I've been educated by some of you, right away, who watched the French League up. How many games have I watched in the French League this campaign? None. Purely, absolutely none. I've watched a game in the Dutch Eredivisie. I've watched a game in the Italian Serie A, Spanish La Liga, Premier League, German Bundesliga. I've not watched one in the French League. I think I should. Look, I don't know. I think I should watch one this weekend. Hopefully before the international break. But what I would disagree with Mikel is that the amount of praise he gives them and the amount of credit he actually gives them. Now, for me, I would love to go, well, they are a good side, and that's it. I don't think, look, to be in the Champions League, gone are the days when the Champions League was creme de la creme. Gone are the days when the competition had the best of the best, right? These days, you could have Copenhagen, then you could have Midtjylland, then you could have Red Star Belgrade, and then you have a couple of teams that are there because they qualified, but they're not they're not the best, right? They're not the best. I think Brighton are much better than Lens. I think Aston Villa are much better than Lens, but Lens are in the Champions League because they meet the criteria of qualification. Lens remind me of Leicester City last campaign, right? What they did last campaign. They ran, they had a very good run and probably should have won the the French League one if it wasn't for PSG being the big money spenders and, like overrunning the league. So they could have won it. However, that doesn't make them UEFA Champions League threats. That doesn't make them proper opponents in the UEFA Champions League, right? They had one good season. We have seen it with the likes of Montpellier, when they won the league with Olivier Giroud, couple of many years ago before he joined Arsenal. It happens. A team can have a very good season, perform out of expectation. The same happened with Julian Berlin in Germany, and that is the end of it, right? So when Mikel says, I don't know how they don't have better results, it's because they've dropped off. Because it is reset and they've gone back to normal. They've gone back to their usual settings, which is you win a game, you lose, right? You lose 3, you win 2. You lose 3, you win 1, and draw 1. So I don't think Arsenal should be under a little pressure, and Mikel shouldn't be putting these players under a little pressure. Go and do your minimum best. That should be able to get 3 pass lengths, even in France, right? Even in France. Now, I would love to respect every opponent that we play against. You know me, guys. I do respect every opponent that we play against. I'm not saying play the kids. I'm not saying we should play the way we want. Of course, when you play the way you want, you lose the game. It's as simple as that, right? You mess up, you lose the game. But what I'm trying to say, for me, when it comes to FC Lons, is they've dropped off. So they didn't build a huge foundation or a good foundation. They just had that, one good season, less injuries. Everything they were touching was turning to gold, and every part of the team was actually clicking and adding up very well. As simple as that. So Mikel says we know that kind of test is gonna be maybe because it's away from home, but of course we have a very, very good away record, so that shouldn't bother me as well, and it doesn't bother me at all, unless otherwise. Mikel Arteta also talked about Thomas Partey as a new addition to the squad, and he says yes, he's been progressing really well in the last few weeks, and he managed to train in the last 2-3 days with the team. That's great news for us, obviously. The boss said he's progressing, and he's been very, very good in the past week. He is a big player, and we know what he brings to this team. Okay, so Partey back, confirmed by the gaffer. He has been training in the past 3 days, and he has also been doing very good work in the past couple of weeks. So that means if he has had 3-4 consecutive training sessions, he's good to go. And of course, Mikel talked about it in his press conference still. That he's gonna play some minutes. Partey will play some minutes, but it's gonna depend on him. It will depend. If he wants to give him some minutes, then he will. But he's okay and ready to play some minutes in this game. And I would love him to play. I would love him to play some minutes, like 40 maybe, the last 40 of the game. If he wants to play Declan Rice first, because I want both of them to play in this game. Declan didn't look so sharp against Bournemouth. And I thought it was good, by the way. I really, really do. I thought it was good. But I don't think it was as sharp as the Declan we know. So if Declan can play 60 minutes or 50, and Partey can also play the rest of the 50, yeah. I mean, that is positive. That would be good, right? So I would love to see Thomas Partey play in this game. And Mikel says he's back. He's been doing a couple of things right, and there is nothing to be worried about. Okay, he also says something positive about Bukayo Saka. And he says he's fine. He's much, much better. He confirmed, obviously. He took a big knock, but he's recovered well, and he trained today. It's great if he's available, and we will make that call tomorrow, whether he will be playing in this game or not. I think he will play him. He will play him. He always plays Saka. I will be surprised one day when he doesn't select him. Of course, at times he's not selected him sometimes, like maybe 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 times. But he's it doesn't really happen often. Mikel, on the remarks of the return of William Saliba to France, it says, when you look at how he's been developing, his role in the team, the level and consistency shown in the last year or so, is remarkable. And Arteta says, I don't think you'll find a lot of centre-backs doing what he's doing at the moment. Right? And he also says that credit to the players around him as well, the way they are guiding him, protecting him, inspiring him, and with the qualities he has as a player, the presence and the physicality and composure to be a leader in the back line for a big club like us is a huge compliment for a player like William Saliba. Like I said, it wasn't a long press conference, but it was spot on, right? Because the key points, Partey, Saliba, Saka, and FC Lons. I mean, that's what he talked about. But just a comment on William Saliba. I don't know how he does it, but how many centre-backs are as consistent as this guy? How many centre-backs are really as consistent as this guy. Like, if we are honest, even Virgil van Dijk is not at that level. Even the likes of Fabian Schär and Steven Botman, who had a very, very good partnership last campaign, are not at that level this campaign. I would say Ruben Dias probably. Outside Ruben Dias is the only guy that has kept that consistency, and not even Dunk, because he conceded 6 against Aston Villa. Yeah, maybe Thiago Silva probably, because Thiago is always evergreen. Apart from Thiago Silva and Ruben Dias, no one else, right? No one else. So absolutely, Mikel says he's developing well, and for him to be influential at a big club like Arsenal, that's a huge compliment. I'll speak to you right in the next one. See you in a bit.